Thank you. I'm going to ask Pastor Laki, ahumanu, Senior Pastor of Church on the Go, to do an opening prayer for us and bless the food. Pastor Laki.
Makau, kami kapu, ele mai kaua. May the Lord God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may God lift up His countenance upon all of you and give you peace both now and forevermore. Mahalo nui loa o ke akua. Thank you for blessing the food so us Hawaiians can get more beautifully shaped. Amen.
Amen.
Makakao, kami kapu, pakan na. Let the celebration begin and the luau too. Mahalo.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you very much to our panel, distinguished panel of fellow members with me on the Maui Homeless Alliance, which I'm so glad to be a little part of that you've been doing for such a longer time. I'm maybe the new kid on the block there, knows very little, but is trying my best to learn more and see how I can help it. The West Maui Taxpayers this is our third annual Hot Topics presentation, where we've started out 3 years ago with the first one, trying to talk about what was recognized as a crisis by the state of Hawaii and its governor, homelessness being a crisis in the state of Hawaii. And things were a lot worse then than they are today. There's a lot of things that have happened. We're going to hear a little bit about what those things are. First, I'm going to say to our television audience, which is so awesome, we appreciate Akaku very much for being here filming this, who will be taping this for rebroadcast on Akaku, as well as creating a Vimeo link presentation, which will be on the websites of the West Maui Taxpayers and anybody else who wanted to cut and paste it and put it on their websites, some of our nonprofits or other organizations, for access to the panel, this presentation tonight, some of the important questions that we're talking about, things that have happened, what's transpired, what's being done now, and what needs to be done, perhaps in the future. The West Maui Taxpayers Association was started nearly 40 years ago, and I was a founding director 40 years ago. I had to hear back then, and we wanted to help improve different access or resources in the West Maui community. And pass around to everybody. I don't know if you took a look at it. We have a list of accomplishments of the West Maui taxpayers. It's just little bullet points that's happened over the last 39 years. Our building our own West Maui Fire and Ambulance Station in Napili is maybe our crowning achievement, because prior to that there was only one ambulance and one fire station on the west side. And if you could get fire insurance, it was more than double the cost. It was the highest protection class in the county, fire protection class 10, and very expensive if you could get it. And then the county recognized that we needed this, but they said we don't have the money. And I said, what would happen if we built our own? It's like we had something to do with the center we're in today as well. They said, well, if you could do that, of course, you have to build it all now. You have to build the whole thing, and even buy the fire engine and the furniture, everything. Can you do that? He says, we'll do it. We have an invisible means of support, and we'll get it all done. And we did. So we built the Napili Fire and Ambulance Station. Never been done before anywhere in the state of Hawaii, but it's been saving lives and helping us ever since then. And then we got a certificate of need for the West Maui Hospital, which they said couldn't be done. There's a whole list of things that they said couldn't be done. This building we're in, they said couldn't be done. The aquatic center, they said couldn't be done. All these things we had a hand in with an invisible means of support to get done, and we did, which is an awesome thing. So I'm an internal optimist now. I believe, after being told all these things that I couldn't do or we couldn't get done over here in the West Maui community, and knowing that we did all those things that couldn't be done, we're not done yet. We got a lot ahead of us, and we're going to do a lot more things as we go forward in the future. I also pass around this resource card, which is available at the Maui Homeless Alliance meetings. It's an incredible resource card of different financial assistance programs, legal services, medical services, dental care, mental health resources, recovery and addiction resources and contacts, transportation. Incredible card. So I duplicated many of these things. I got more. People just love it when they get that information. The West Maui Taxpayers, again, we just joined the Maui Homeless Alliance 3 years ago. We started our first Hot Topics presentation. That's also on a kaku. You can go to westmaui.org and go back to the one 3 years ago, our initial Hot Topics, and the one that happened last year as well, and see all the questions and answers that were there and where we've come. And today we're going to have an opportunity to see how much further we've came since then. And I want a special mahalo to Stacy Shibao for her assistance in making this room available for us here at the West Maui Senior Center. Something we lobbied hard for, which I know the seniors know, many of them, that we said we fought hard saying we need something for our seniors here in West Maui. And we went after it, and I'm happy to say my stepson Zeke Kalua was our executive director at that time, and he just wouldn't stop at the budget meetings until they committed to building this facility, and they did. And look at this. They did, and this has got to be one of the nicest facilities there is anywhere in the county of Maui. So with God's help, we continue to march on, doing all these different things. We got a long ways to go, but I'm excited. I don't know about you. I'm, again, the eternal optimist. There's a lot of things. I always want to look at the glass half full type of way of thinking, and upbeat challenges. And I know that there's people in this committee here, this panel of experts, who have also done miracles in their lives and are doing it on a daily basis. To us, the most precious thing in life is a human life, a human being. And to protect that resource any way we can, to see that that's maximized for health and benefit, is an admirable thing, and I think it's our duty to do that. Woo, I almost got myself emotional. Okay, and Kaku, thanks for filming this. And thanks to our seniors for helping serve the food. We had lots of food. I hope everybody will have as much as they can and plan on taking some home this evening. But going right along with our panel, we'd like to, for the benefit of the camera and our viewing audience, go right down the line. We got Monique Yamashita, Chief Executive. In fact, why don't you do your own introductions? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. It's always good to be here. It's such a pleasure, and I'm glad that I can give any information that I can. My name is Monique Yamashita, and I'm the Executive Director for Kahaleakeola Homeless Resource Centers here on the west side and also in Wailuku.
Hello, Joe. Thank you so much. I'm Joyce Kawakami, Executive Director, Founder, and Janitor of Feed My Sheep.
Thanks, Joe. This is David Nakama, the Maui County Homeless Program Coordinator.
Hi, I'm Maud Cumming. I'm the Executive Director for Family Life Center.
Aloha, my name is Salma Akita Kealoha, and I'm with Catholic Charities Hawaii. I am the Maui Community Director.
Hello, I am Lieutenant Stephen Howard. I am the Maui County Coordinator for the Salvation Army. And with me is...
Saki from Lahaina Salvation Army.
Awesome, thank you, panel members. So what we've advertised this event, and it was in the Maui News. Thank you, Maui News, last Sunday. But it's in a small little county section of advertising an event. I wanted a much bigger press release of that. And it was in the Lahaina News also. But, you know, there's been a lot of community meetings. I'll tell you, this election year has just got over. Those of you who are watching us on TV know this is the 13th of November, and the elections were just on the 7th, and there was meetings after meetings after meetings after meetings for one thing or another. And the population in general is pretty meeting it out. We just had a Veterans Day holiday yesterday, which is a phenomenal day. I'm a veteran myself. I know Pastor Laki back here who did our opening prayer for us is a Vietnam veteran as well with me, and we love our veterans and honor our veterans. And that was the beginning of the National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. It all started yesterday, and we would have had this program starting yesterday as we did in the years past, the first day of National Hunger, Homelessness, and Awareness Week. But it was Veterans Day. For the first time we had that conflict. This facility was closed, so we pushed over to today. And I want to thank your cooperation to everybody who had to make all those changes, including Stacy Shabao and the senior center here and staff and Akaku as well. Everybody was counting on the first day, so we adapted and we made the change. But there's all kinds of events for this week. Maybe Joyce will tell us a little bit more as we go, when she gets up to Joyce Kawakami. She's kind of heading up that National Homeless and Awareness Week information. She's done a fantastic job on that. There's be sign waving. I think there was early sign waving today in ahumanu in West Maui about it. And there's other events happening this week that perhaps Joyce will elaborate on when we get to her. We've had questions sent in to us and emailed to us and provided to us, and that we believe are important, that we get the community to be able to hear what they are. It's recorded, and the people need to know. And if I go back to we start off here on my right with Monique. As the CEO of Kahaliakiola Homeless Resource Center, Monique, how has your agency addressed the need for permanent affordable housing on the west side is a question.
That's a great question. We do have 30 units of affordable rental units here on the west side that is adjacent to our shelter up above the public pool.
Thank you. And what changes has your shelter made to better help the homeless?
We've actually did a paradigm shift about 2017, and it wasn't just our agency but statewide. Many homeless shelters really went to what's called a housing first model, and we lowered our barriers at our shelter to be more inclusive. Before, we used to drug test and alcohol test individuals, and they had to be clean and sober in order to enter our shelter. That no longer happens. So we take individuals where they're at in their life situation, and we work with them to enter into shelter and help them with the needs that they have. So we really look at supplying their basic needs, food, shelter, clothing, and then begin to work with them on their goals and whatever they need to get into permanent housing. So we're more housing focused now than we've ever been before. So the end goal for any of our guests that stay in one of our shelters is to get them into permanent housing. So we really have worked really hard to be more inclusive for our homeless population.
I guess you kind of answered my third question that we have here, is your homeless shelter housing focused? And you kind of hit on that, but you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. From the time a guest walks, we call them guests. So the clients that walk through our doors, we call them guests. And from the moment they walk through their doors and they have their first meeting with their housing navigator, everything's about goal setting and getting them prepared to get into permanent housing. And what is it going to take for them to get there? We work with them from that time until they're ready to get into housing, and then we start helping them look for housing. So we have a housing specialist who works with landlords and property managers to identify rental units that are available to our guests, and we help them. We also have rental assistance program funds through the county to get into permanent housing. And then once they're in permanent housing, we have a housing retention specialist to work with our former guests to ensure that they stay housed, and whatever that means in between. So we do have this continuum of care that we work with them to ensure that they stay housed, because we know that to end homelessness, people have to be housed and stay housed.
Thank you very much. Well, moving right down the line there, Joyce Kawakami. Joyce, do you work with the other organizations who also give food? You're the executive director or president of Feed My Sheep?
I'm not the president. I do have a president of the board, but I am the founder. And the executive director. And yes, we actually work very closely with everybody here. So when we have extra food, we share with other organizations, and when they have extra food, they share with us. And we personally keep this card with us at all times and use that to help people find the resources they need. And one of the most exciting things to me that is happening on Maui is Housing First, because it gives us hope. To be on the street all the time with folks, and you know, we don't just serve the homeless, but of course 20% of those we serve are homeless. And we're like Monique and Kahale Akiola. We don't call them clients, they are our friends. And we're friends helping friends, and we get to know them, we get to know their children. We pray for them if they want prayer. We offer the support that they need of friendship, and it was until Housing First came, it was hopeless for so many of them. But we're starting to see some get into homes, and then some starting to seek out the resources they want. And that's because of groups like this working together, feeding, because we're with a resource of food. And if they get into a house, they still need food. But David here, he manages that a great deal, and us all working together has made a huge difference in giving hope for a home for many of our homeless on the streets. I took that further than I intended.
So
That was your question?
well, I think you did a great job in answering that question. And also, as I'm going down and asking these questions, feel free to elaborate a little bit more on either side of things that I left out or that you think is important to add to that. Like, how do you know the people who come actually need the help?
Well, we actually, some people thought we were really cruel to start doing this because we used to not ask. But we're starting to, we now check their financial qualifications. We see their bank statements. We even actually have started looking at tax records for houses, because we need to make sure, for our donors' sake and for our sake, and then, I personally put a lot into this, so I take it very personally. We want to make sure our resources are used to the people who actually need them. So we spend a lot of time on that, just the qualification process. So, did that answer that question?
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you very much.
So now I would like to go ahead and tell you folks.
Yes, would you please? Yes.
Thank you. This is National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. And our theme this year, and every year we have a different theme, is to join together to feed the hungry and house the homeless. So here we have a little bit of an action in this, because as a group that is trying hard to work together, there's a bit of a challenge sometimes, but together we are trying to find solutions that will get our homeless on this island permanently housed. So this week, the awareness is important. So it's very important that the people of this community understand that there are homeless. They know that when they drive down the streets, of course, but these homeless are human beings. They are people who have mothers, brothers, sisters. They need help. they're just not able to go into society right now. Maybe they've had a lot of trauma in their past life. Who knows what they've been living through. And this group right here in the Maui Homeless Alliance works very hard to try to meet those resources. So today, like you said, we had the sign waving, and then we have this event. And this morning, we were at the mayor's office in his chambers, and he read the proclamation to proclaim this as the Maui Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. Tomorrow night, you might want to join us. We're having a candlelight vigil at Queen Ahumanu Shopping Center, center stage. It starts at 6 and will be done by 7. Thursday, in the Salvation Army in Kahului, there is a Patrick Foyle Resource Fair for the homeless. It starts at 9 and ends at 1. And we will be there, others will be there, Kahalia Keola will be there, many of the organizations, Family Life Center will be there. We will offer resources, we will give free things to them, food, I got can openers. But we will also make sure they understand what resources are available for them. And then on Friday, there's a statewide homeless conference that many of us on this panel will be attending. So that's our week of events. Happens every year. It'll happen again next year.
Thank you, Joyce. That was awesome. I guess some of our panel members are participating in that. Can feel free to elaborate on what they're going to do at those events as when it comes to you. Okay, moving right along, David. You know, when we did our first panel, you weren't here. We were begging and pleading for somebody like you, and you're the answer to our prayer. We're so glad to have you join us, and you're the result of everybody wanting you. And we're happy that you answered that call and that you're with us today. With part of that, questions for you, David. What is the county doing about homeless encampments on county property, and namely the parks?
Well, that would be the enforcement part of it, which is not really why my office was created. When you hear people talk about housing first and coordinated entry, that's why my office was created, to help people get housed, working with Kaliakeola, Family Life Center, and other agencies. That was the primary purpose of my office being created. But as soon as my office was created, the complaint calls came in. So it's a two-faceted side of my office. One side, getting people housed, and the other side is addressing complaints and even enforcement issues. So on that side of it, that's what this question is about. What the county is doing about encampments is we created an approach called the Compassionate Action Plan, where we not only do so-called sweeps and moving people along, but adding the social service aspect. So outreach goes out there independently after like serving to vacate notice is served. So outreach will go out and offer services to them. So it's not just moving people along, you know. It's trying to get them into services and you know, the help they need. So that's what we're doing. You know, we work closely with MPD, outreach, even Public Works Department that handles heavy machinery and stuff, and parks personnel. So that question was addressing parks. So it's a real coordinated effort, and it's a pretty well-oiled machine right now. You know, it's working smoothly, and things are getting done. And you know, the bright side is people do go into services. Not all, but you know, there's a few that they get tired of being moved along and they accept services.
Thank you. There are also talks about creating safe zones or tent cities. Are you an advocate of those kind of ideas?
Well, in a nutshell, those ideas in other municipalities, many, it hasn't worked. It becomes a money drain for the government. You know that if the county is supporting it, you know, say on the Big Island, they tried it on the Big Island, it didn't work. They had 24 people there, and they were spending like, I don't know, $21,000 or $22,000 a month, in security, in facilities, porta potty, showers and stuff. So it just didn't work. So they shut it down. So, and it creates more problems than it solves. It doesn't solve homelessness. They're still going to be homeless. And, it further entrenches them in homelessness. It's like accepting the homelessness. So that's why the county does not support that.
Well, that's very interesting. See, so now some of our panel members, as we're going through, I should have mentioned this to begin, if you wanted to chip in to some of this thing and facilitate some of the comments that anybody's making at their permission when they're done, just ask them if it's okay to make a comment towards that, and you can. But thank you very much, David. Is there something else that you would like to just elaborate on yourself that you hadn't thought about or you'd like to share?
Well, I just want to thank the agencies that I've been working with, different county departments and the private nonprofit agencies working, because, we're all working together now. So that's what it takes. No one agency is going to solve homelessness, or one department, or even just a county. It's a real coordinated effort, and even the public has to get involved.
Thank you very much, David. I agree with that 100%. And moving right along there, Maud, you're up next. When I first joined the Homeless Alliance, Maud was the chairperson, and she was. They leaped all these things for her to get done, and she did a great deal, making a big dent in that pile with Thelma as co-chair at that time, and now I think she's off the hot seat this year. Are you, Maud? No, you're back in the hot seat. Okay, I'm sorry. But Maud Cummings, she's up next. Maud, go ahead.
Did you have a question?
No. Oh, yes, I do. I'm sorry. See, I get myself all excited. If you are out there doing outreach, why are there still homeless people on the streets?
That's a question we get asked all the time. I really believe there's never going to be a time when you don't walk out your door and there aren't people who are homeless. But what we can do is make sure that our system, which is what we're trying to do right now with the whole coordinated entry concept, is that design a system where we have enough resources that if anyone is homeless, that within 30 days we can address their need and get them either into permanent housing or into a shelter of some kind. So that's what we're coordinating our efforts towards. People have choice. I was out on the street Saturday morning at like 7 o'clock, and I stopped to talk to some people, and people I'd worked with for a long time, many years. And one other thing, I was on a panel where someone was saying that nobody ever asks the homeless what it is that they want. And that is so not true. We're out there every day asking them, how can we help you? What would it take? What do you need? What does a service to you look like? And then we take it back and see if it is something we can do. But basically our services are about housing. We're about housing. Every outreach, shelter, all of our programs are designed to get a person housed, because homelessness does not end unless you have housing. So we are out there every day. I was starting to say I was out there on Saturday talking to someone, and we had sent this person to treatment twice, housed them 3 times over the course of the last 10 years. So there are some issues, and so I said, what's it going to take this time? Well, yeah, I am going to change. Okay. You have a plan? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, let's put that plan into practice today. And the answer was, well, I'm not ready today. So you have to take people when they're ready. One of the things we continue to do is sometimes one person I can think of that the outreach worker kept going out there and she said, it's not working. She doesn't want my help. I said, that's okay. You just go and make sure she knows who you are. Once a month, you stop by and you see her and just say, something changed. You want my help now? And it was about 4 years later. She was under the banyan tree, and the police were telling her, you got to move along. And she remembered the outreach worker's name. And so then she called, the crisis worker called, and we got her into housing. And today it's almost 5 years later, she is still housed. Amazingly still housed. So we just continue to be out there, let people know who we are, let people know that we are out there, that housing first, is a concept that comes out of a belief that housing is a right, it's not a reward for compliant behavior. So whatever your issues are right now, that's not what we focus on, but you tell us what it is you want and when you want our help. And we'll try to get you into housing. If there are some things that and require of the person no more than what you and I would be required of if we're renting. The landlord wants you to pay your rent on time, wants you to keep the house in good order and not disturb your neighbors. And that's what we ask. So along the way, if you have some issues that are preventing you from doing that and you've been evicted from a house before, those are the things we want to work with you on. So yes, there are homeless out there, and we are continuing to go out there, but we believe and we have hope that we will continue to offer the services, and between all of us here, we'll develop a system that can help people within 30 days. So that's our goal.
Thank you very much, Maud. That's awesome. Okay, moving right along. Thelma is now, did you switch positions when you were chair and then co-chair, and now chair, then co-chair, or is it?
Chair and vice chair.
Oh, there's co-chair, co-chair, and chair over there, but still hot seat. Okay.
I'm sorry, Maud is our go-to person, so, whenever we get stuck or we have questions or we feel that there's a better answer, usually we will seek her out because Maud has taken the time to actually understand all of the HUD rules, and no, so am I. She's read everything. She's a wonderful role model for a lot of us, so we look up to her and admire her and her knowledge. So we cannot take her off of the hot seat because we do rely on her, and we're all still learning. I'm still learning. I've been around for a while, and I'm still learning.
Thank you, Thelma. Well, I agree with you, and I'm so glad she's willing to sit on that hot seat and help and assist. I see her in action. Tell us, you've been in the press lately, and it's pretty exciting. Tell us about the Kahului Lani development.
So we have a property right next to Family Life Center, and we're going to be developing senior housing. So it's going to be built in 2 phases. The first phase, I believe, is going to be 81 units. So it's 81 senior units. This is for seniors who are 55 years and older, low income, no electricity. Electricity will be included in the housing. We are like 98% sure that we will be working, actually, maybe even higher than that we're going to be working with Halimaha'olu, who will be our they will manage the property, they will do the screening and do everything to get the seniors into the housing. Also, with the senior housing, we will have case management services for the seniors that'll be built in.
Where is that?
It's going to be in Kahului.
Nothing in Lahaina.
No, well, just so happened that property was in Kahului, and we had, we could negotiate getting that so we could build. So it's just a matter of what's available, what the cost is, can they make it work. So ours worked out, it's low income, and all of the seniors have access to case management services, and they won't have to pay for electricity. So everything will be included, mostly. No cable and phone, but electricity, which is a big thing, will be included, and I'm hearing that they also will have AC in the units because it's really hot. And we've had to make changes as people have commented on what the needs are for people in that Kahului area.
What are the future plans for Lahaina?
Right now, Catholic Charities Hawaii has a nonprofit housing development corporation, and we were able to work to get this property in Kahului. So it just depends on what's available, right? That was something that we were talking about for a while. This has been going on for quite a few years before we're finally at the point that we're going to be having groundbreaking. So it's not something that happens overnight. It takes time, and you got to start with property and whether it's affordable, because a lot of your developers, or the developers on the island, their big issue is how to get to pencil this out. So how can we make it work so the rents are affordable? We were fortunate because we got funding for that through the state and through the federal government. And that's what helps cut down the cost of the rent. So, we are really interested in continuing to provide housing, but it's going to depend on where that is, whether, how much the land is, can we get funding for that to come to fruition. So that's it. So, and there's always a need for housing. One of the biggest issues we have with getting our clients housed is finding them a place to live. Right now, HUD has made a change. Well, a few years back, they made a change, and they're allowing their clients to rent a room. So MOD has clients who are renting a room, not the whole entire house, and HUD will pay for that room for clients. So they're changing the way they're doing things so we can house more people who are homeless. And then I also wanted to mention that for a while before we could get started on cleaning out that property next to Maud and Vivau and School Street, there were at the very latest, we had heard there were 40 people who were homeless. So we were getting calls. And, because we do have a network, Family Life Center, David Nakama from the county, the police department, everybody's working together to try to work those issues out so we can clean the property and find out if people need services. So we also were issuing trespass notices with the police department. I did want to mention that Family Life Center has been offering a lot of those people services. They've been going over next door. And the other thing is that I know that they have been speaking to them, because I got a call from Lisa who told me, oh yeah, the client came over and told us, oh yeah, you guys are issuing trespass notices. So they're working with them. But, again, like Maud said, it's free will, right? You have a choice. You have a choice of whether you want to move along when they do these compassionate actions, whether you want to get services or whether you want to move to someplace else. Because certainly the 40 different people on that property all had choices. And they were offered assistance and they were offered services. And I know some of them actually are going to Family Life Center, otherwise they wouldn't have gotten that information, because the next day I was emailing people about that information. So Lisa knew it before I even sent that email out. So I'm going to talk a little bit more, I'm sorry. But the other thing I wanted to say is, everybody always wants to know what we can do about homelessness. Well, the thing with the homelessness issue is that it's not just the organizations that provide the services. It's not just David Nakama, who's the homelessness coordinator. It's everybody. So it's organizations. We have a lot of faith-based organizations that are also active. The community people. Now, we had a panel at UHMC because they're really interested in what kind of resources are out in the community. And so it's all of us working together and understanding what the issue is and understanding who the people are, because they are people. You know, they're people. And we have to remember that we all want to be treated a certain way with respect. Nobody wants to be talked down to or, you know, treated badly. So we have to remember, you know, that compassion in us, we have to also give it to them, because sometimes they may not be ready, but that doesn't mean that we act badly towards them, right? We give them that chance, and sooner or later, like Maud said, people turn around and they say, okay, I've had enough. I've had enough, and I'm going to ask for services. So we at Catholic Charities Hawaii, we don't have a shelter. We do assist people trying to get into housing. We do get calls from Family Life Center and Kahale Akeola to help those people who are homeless that need assistance. So, you know, we try to do whatever we can. We work with different partners in the community to get this work all done.
Thank you, Thelma. Well, coming up next is Lieutenant Stephen Howard and Kevin Nagasaki, Salvation Army. And talk about being in the hot seat and on the front lines. These two guys are right there and have been there for the longest time. And maybe the first point of contact for many, many people. So, you know, we appreciate you both and what you do, just like we do everybody who's on the panel. But I know being on the front line, you get some incredible situations confronted. So what kind of services does the Salvation Army currently provide for the homeless?
Well, thank you, Joe, for those kind words. And I would just say that while we are in the front lines, many of these people up here are on the front lines just as we are. For the Salvation Army, basically, for many, we are just known as the people to go to when you're in need. Much of the assistance that we provide is immediate assistance. Someone is hungry, we feed them. They need clothes, we clothe them. You know, they need a shower, they need to do their laundry. We have those facilities available to them. And we provide that, you know, just on a walk-in basis. But all of that we do is in order for us to build a relationship with the homeless that are out there, build up their trust, and hopefully entice them to come and see one of our caseworkers. And then from there, our caseworkers can help them, you know, find assistance that they may not know that is available to them, get benefits that they may not you know, already be applied for. And many of the programs here, you know, we work with them, and we actually have in Lahaina for Housing First, we have a partnership with Maud and Family Life Center, and our caseworkers will do the evaluations here in Lahaina for the Housing First program. But you know, basically we you know, try to build that relationship, that trust with them, and try to help them in any way possible so that we can help them in the situation that they are. And hopefully down the line, you know, as Maud said, some of the people we've seen year after year after year, and eventually they'll come around, you know, there'll be a life change or an experience, and they'll come to us and they'll say, okay, I'm ready to change, and you know, we're there to find them the assistance that they need. So,
thank you. Well, the Salvation Army has a drop-in center in Lahaina and outreach offices in Kahului. And what are the difference, if any, between these two programs?
So yes, we do have the two offices, one in Kahului, one in Lahaina. The services are roughly the same in both locations, but the way that we offer those services are different. In Lahaina, it is a drop-in center that is open Monday through Friday. People can drop drop in, and they could get a meal, they can see a caseworker, and get those services, meals, showers, laundry, all that stuff. In Kahului, it's a little bit different. Our outreach office is actually open on Mondays and Fridays because on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we have a mobile outreach unit we call the Caravan that is filled with supplies, hygiene, clothing, all those things, and we actually go out to many different places. We go out to Kihei, we go out to Paia, we do a lot of central Maui type stuff within Kahului, and offer those services and meals directly to the clientele. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I know that right next to you there is your partner, Kevin, and he's right in the front lines in Lahaina town. Kevin, do you want to add or take away or supplement anything that's just been said?
Just that the drop-in center has been open for a while, and it's been from 1998, so it's been 20 years. So it's been open for 20 years, and we just did.
We're going to pass you down this other microphone here. This is no service mic. We got a problem with that one. Thank you.
Well, I guess they really want to hear me.
Yeah, we want to hear you.
The Lahaina Drop-In Center has been there for about 20 years, and it's been servicing the people. And we've been kind of fortunate that, I guess it's the meeting place of the homeless, I guess you want to say. And we've been kind of thankful that, how can I say, we have been having a lot of people, a lot of success of going to the shelter and finding permanent housing. We had one person that was basically living underneath the banyan tree for 28 years. And I mean, we've been trying to get him into the shelter or some kind of housing, and it just never worked out. But I mean, finally this year, after that many years, he finally got into permanent housing at Pialani. I mean, that's a big success, I mean, to me. But it took that personal time to build that relationship with that person before he said, okay, I'm willing to sign the papers. So I think that's a great thing that, you know, we have a program that we can meet their needs.
Well, that's awesome. Now, as we run down there, any of our panel members want to come back and add a little bit to anything they said or facilitate anything else? Any panel member got a comment? Yes, no? I don't see any hands raised up like that. Well, Peggy, you have a question?
Yeah, I have some questions and some suggestions too.
Suggestions, please don't give us any suggestions. We have more questions.
Well, I guess the question is, where do you put this information? Because we have 2 bulletin boards, that is a suggestion, I'm sorry, but one at the pool and one at the bank. But they could also have maybe a bulletin board at the park next to 505. People that are homeless, they don't all have cell phones. They don't all have any good, but they do notice the bulletin boards.
We need you to get, if you were, your question, you want to use our microphone so we can get.
So I'm saying, I'm talking about Lahaina only. Maybe we could try to get some of this information out on all the bulletin boards, maybe put 10 of them up there so people can grab one.
Use a mic so people can hear what you're saying.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, you want to repeat the question? Here.
Thank you.
I guess I want to know in Lahaina how we can get more information out to the homeless, because not everybody has a cell phone or a TV or comes to these meetings. And of course, that's why I thought the bulletin board at the swimming pool and the bulletin board at the bank, I put Planned Parenthood stuff there for the past 10 years. So I'm saying maybe we can even have a bulletin board at the park next to 505. So how can we get more of this information out? This is great information here. It just needs to be distributed in a way that maybe you just tack it up on the bulletin board so those people that come down from the shelter place can just go, they go to the pool to shower sometimes and take their kids swimming and stuff, and then they can see this information, and anyone can pass on where to get it. I was always telling people, go to the Bank of Hawaii, and there's a bulletin board.
I can help you with that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
first off, Feed My Sheep is out here on the street of Lahaina every Thursday, and we pass these out. We have them on our desk available to anyone who wants them, and I guarantee the homeless on Lahaina come to us every Thursday. Second idea, It's a community effort, so you are welcome to take as many of these as you want and put them on every bulletin board, and we really appreciate your help in that.
The other thing I wanted to mention is, I guess, I don't know, it's a movie Grapes of Wrath. I saw that so many times where they've got those little wooden houses that just have a roof over them and a place to stay, and I think they might have had a toilet or a sink or a place to cook, and I don't know if the bathrooms are, but I mean, go see the Grapes of Wrath to get an idea. I don't think tents are really great when you got lots of rain and hot sun and everything. My question is, well, I asked her before, what are we doing in Lahaina? I know what you're doing on the other side. What are we doing in Lahaina to build some small homeless little houses that people can live in a community? They've got a few on the backside over there by the off of Lahaina Road, right here. You know those wonderful places?
I need to answer that.
Okay, so
I think one of the things that we forgot that you don't think is that this panel here is not in charge of building and developing housing. They have specific roles that they play. So your question, that question you just came up with, that's for the new mayor, that's for the council members, that's for the people who've got the ability to do those things, not for this panel. This panel is not charged with the obligation.
Well, they said the tents didn't work, so.
No, she was giving a sample of a tent city situation in the Big Island of Hawaii, David, that failed.
Yeah.
So that's not, so it wasn't his idea, and it wasn't a counterpart of his idea. That was something that had happened over there. So I think we got to move on with our thing here, but I can talk to you after this.
Yeah.
You want to?
Can I say something?
Sure.
So yes, Joel, you're correct. We're not developers. You know, we're not charged with making sure that there is an affordable housing in this area. You're right, the mayor, the county council. So here's the thing. We're always fighting for affordable housing. We're always testifying at the county council for affordable housing. That's where the voices come together.
Affordable rentals.
Affordable rentals and affordable home ownership. There's both. You have to have both. You know,
Affordable rentals.
it depends on what you mean by affordable too. So, but in any case, this is when the voices need to come together in the community, because when there's projects that make sense to people in the community, projects that, you know, are willing to go down to 70% of median income, those are really trying to reach out to the people who live and work here. So these are the times when you see that these projects are going on, they're asking people to come out and testify on behalf of their projects. Please, that's when we need the voices. That's when you call your neighbors and your friends and people who are interested. And that's when you say, we gotta go out, we gotta write letters, we gotta make our voices heard so they know what our needs are. That's what we have to do for this property and this project.
Thank you, Thelma. You know, earlier this month, we had the candidates night here at this facility, and every single candidate running for mayor and all the county council were asked that specific question. And you were there, Peggy, at that time, and that's who really that question is. It's their obligation. Everybody here is a cheerleader like I am. Yes, we need to get more, but unfortunately, they don't have the power to do it. But there's power to the people, and the people who elected these people, and now is our time to call them on the carpet, because every one of them who got elected pledged to do their very best to address the homelessness issue and affordable rental issue, primarily the combination of both, but more importantly, the fact that not everybody is going to own a home, but they certainly can have a rental, an affordable rental, and that is really the key. We need more affordable rentals, make much more sense in a more quickly, timely basis for immediate benefit and action than building homes. At today's cost of construction and with the impact fees, as it is currently today, it's $100,000 per house before you put a shovel in the ground, and impact fees that is assigned to every house. So if you're starting off before you even start with $100,000 in impact fees, all right, you know, how much more can you go before you're talking it's no longer affordable? Pastor Laki, you're here to say something? Come here.
Hallelujah. I just wanted to say God has blessed you, obviously, to have chosen you before you even came out of mama's womb, to be able to have the heart to fulfill His word, that as it is written, if they're hungry, you feed them. If they're naked, you clothe them. If they're strangers, take them into your house. I remember when I became the bishop here in Lahaina, we built a shack in the back of the church, and the inspector came and he said, Reverend, you cannot be doing this, you need a building permit. I looked at him, I said, I don't mind you taking this homeless family to your house. And the mayor said, leave Laki alone, at least he's helping us with the homeless situation. I've seen people sleeping on the floor, Kanaka Maulis, Hawaiians, that I went because we just got another property there in Ka'ai Road to do an aquaponics farming. And I shake the guy, I said, you Kanaka? He said, yes. I said, you want to have some money? Help me clean the property. I gave him $25. He said, Uncle, thank you so much. I said, no, thank me, thank Akua, and God cares for them too. So I went to Lowe's because I did the blessing. They gave me a discount. I put up two tool sheds on the property. And I bought army cots. I said, if you help me, because if you're hungry, Grandma said, dig the hole, plant the food. Now they're living at my property in that little tool shed that is cheaper than all the millions of dollars we've had to spend to get shelter homes together. As I was ready to leave, I gotta go. My wife said, where are you? And I'm coming. But I want to encourage you to keep the work that God's chosen you to do, because the laborers are few. And it's sad, so many of our people. This is Hawaii, and Hawaiians are homeless. But when I talked to the Hawaiian Homes Administration, I said, why don't you guys build a big apartment complex in the Don basketball court? Hawaiians not playing basketball. And now they're homeless on the side. They treat the Native American Indians better than they do the Kanaka Maoli. But listen, life is short, and when we leave here, like the Lord had the poor guy when he died, the angels came to take him, put him in the comfort of the bosom of Abraham. But when the rich guy died, they buried him, and now he's on the other side, looking, he's crying out, hey, send Lazarus, dip his finger in water, because I'm being tormented in this place. Listen, God can bless you in this life. So when you stand before Him, He said, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of the Lord. God bless you folks.
Thank you, Pastor Laki. Well, he's preaching all the time. I love this guy. He can never stop. I always talk to him. I ask him a question, and about 5 or 6 Bible verses later and teachings later, he'll come around to the question. But God bless him. He's a wonderful man. I first met him 35 years ago at the Harvest Chapel when he was housing people in places where they weren't supposed to. But he was compassionate and helping people. You know, this helping people, helping others. You know, an interesting thing. Maybe you've never heard of it. What ho 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 means. We're going to have a Christmas parade here in Lahaina, the 3rd year. The Rotary Club is joining with Pastor Laki and Harvest, our Church on the Go. And ho 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 means hearts open, hands out, helping others. So, ho ho ho. That's something, little interesting thing about ho ho ho. So it's a spiritual deal, and it's a battle that this panel has been charged. It's a privilege. Let me tell you, it's a privilege to be with you every time we have a meeting, to hear your reports, to see your progress, to see what you do, your commitments. You know, you're my heroes, all of you, and it's the work that's out there is enormous. You know, if those people who don't know, the viewers, the Maui Homeless Alliance is uniting together, working together, doing incredible things with bridging the gap, housing first, changing to the situation as the needs have been needed to be changed, doing what they can do, but they're not responsible for the situation. They didn't create it. They're not responsible for building the housing themselves or developing the housing, but they are cheerleading the efforts with the politicians to help them to get that done. You can't put people in houses that don't exist. you know, we got to have those built first. And we've got all kinds of property that is zoned and ready to, and can be built for that. The politicians that were here earlier this month all were talking about that and what their plans are. They had ideas and ways to improve that to facilitate additional housing and affordable rentals. And from what I understand, we've got some good news heading our way this coming year, especially in the affordable rental section. So, any last comments or questions, panel members? Then please join me in giving a bit. Oh, yes, Stacy.
Can a panel elaborate a little bit more? Because I know Kevin didn't share, and this is something that I know Salvation Army helps with. You guys don't just put people into homes, but you also help put them into the workforce, which is what people don't realize, that a lot of these homeless people that you do outreach to and help, that they're not there just for the taking. They do want to get back into the community, and I know, Kevin, you guys do that at in there with your drop-in service, and I wanted you to just kind of share that if anybody else does that.
You kind of repeat what she said a little bit.
I guess the question is, you asking me if we kind of employ or help get people get jobs and get into housing. Is that what you're kind of asking? Yeah, we try, because we work with a lot of agencies, not really agencies, but the workforce. Like we have the Tongan Church, we have a lot of them. They come and they ask us if we can find day laborers for them. And you know, because we have a drop-in center where they do come, I have that opportunity to say, okay, you know, I got 5 guys that can work for you today. And you know, it gives them some self-worth, you know. And it's the bottom line for us is, you know, it's not just a handout, it's a handout. You know, to give them some self-worth so that they can get back on their feet, or they can move forward in their lives or do stuff. And you know, it's a great thing that we have that drop-in center where those people can come, you know, even use the phone to call their parents far away and tell them, hey, I'm okay. And it helps a lot. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. You want to give me a question? You want to come and speak your question in the microphone?
I think I can scream it.
All right, scream it.
I think it was Maud that said to the homeless that he was not ready to come in.
There was a homeless person not ready to come in. Why was he not ready? Why are they not ready to come in?
There's a lot of different reasons. Most of the people that are homeless have had a lot of trauma in their lives. I've heard stories that, you know, a coworker and I one time said, we're not going to cry anymore. We're not going to cry over anybody. And then someone told us their story, and both of us are crying. And so there's just been a lot of devastation. There's a lot of people that are now 40, 50, 60 years old and have never been able to get over their trauma. So they have to be able to trust. They have to somehow see that their next move is going to put them in a better place. But they may have issues trusting. I mean, I've known this person for 10 years and helped so many times. And he trusts me, but he doesn't trust that the system is going to take him to the next level, or that he's going to make it. So it's a fear of failure. It's a fear of trust. It's a lack of trust. There's just so many things that each one is individualized. There's no one size fits all. We may want to get everybody housed, and that's our goal, but everybody's had different life experiences. So it's a matter of really trying to connect with the person, finding out what it is that is the barrier, and assisting them through that so that they can have a better life.
But do we have enough people to help these people with mental problems?
No.
The question was, can we help the people with mental health problems? And the answer was no.
No, there is not enough. I don't believe there's enough funding for that. We need more mental health services and more substance abuse services. We only have Aloha House, We try to connect people to treatment services on other islands as well. But there is a need for more.
There's a tremendous need for more, and for those of you bringing up, just to elaborate on that question, after living here for 40 years and having so many people that I know that have had all kinds of different problems and trying my best to help them, I've seen the need for mental health care services being increased. It hasn't gotten less worse. It's gotten almost behind every single one of these issues and every one of these sad cases is a mental health issue. And trust was definitely a huge one. Fear. I mean, can I close my eyes and go to sleep without fear of somebody beating me up, stealing what little valuable I had? If I had anything, will I wake up without my ID, without my whatever little thing I had? Will it be stolen? How can you relax? Housing First has come a long way to deal with some of those things. But mental health issues are just huge, and needs to be expanded upon. So again, we go back to who can do anything about this? The county government, our county council, our state legislators. There's federal assistance programs that need to be tapped into. There's state programs that we need to coordinate with. But there's so much that needs to be done in that issue. And what a lot of people don't know is they think, oh, this is not my problem. Why are we picking, why do we have to spend more money? Well, people don't know, if homelessness untreated, when they go to the emergency room at the hospital, they are taken care of at the emergency room of the hospital. The doctors and nurses aren't working for free. The medication is for free. Who's paying for all that? The taxpayers are paying for that. When you throw a person in jail, they're being housed, they're being fed, they're getting medical attention. Who's paying for that? The taxpayers are paying for that. So I've heard there's anywhere between $50,000 and $70,000 it costs to have a person in jail, or a homeless person. That's what the cost to society is, anywhere between $50,000 and $70,000. And when you think of that logic, you say, geez, I could pay these guys $45,000 and we'd be ahead of the game financially. It's hidden costs, these hidden costs, and it's not immediately visible. People have no idea. But the mental health issue is a much larger issue than anybody can put their arms around. I certainly can't, and I know everybody here just knows that they have to try to deal with something that's almost impossible to be dealt with what they're given the current resources that we have here today.
This is free.
That's free, yeah. No, the card that we just passed out, this is contact information. People to contact about different things. They're not going to give you free services on everything, but they'll give you information about what any of those subjects that's listed on that card. Yes.
I know a couple on the side that live in the park. They have a place to keep stay. Which of you would be the ones for them to call, because they try to look for different ways to get in?
Okay, there's a couple, she's saying that a couple she knows who lives in their car and they don't want to be living in their car. They want to have help. Who would be contacted on this panel? What recommendations would we have, panel, for this couple? Who should they contact?
Are they in Lahaina? We subcontract with Salvation Army. They can talk to their outreach worker and she can put them in touch with us, do all the intake, and then Monique.
Yes, absolutely. They can call our intake line on the west side. So they can call either one of our intake lines for shelter. Easy number to remember is 242-HOME, HOME. They can call that number.
I don't think they want them to go into the shelter first.
Oh, got it.
And it's not just them. I know people who
All right, so they don't want to go into shelter. What is it they want?
they want to get into housing.
They want to get into housing. They think, all right, so a shelter and housing are simultaneously the same thing initially. So when a shelter is a house or a place to stay, a safe place to be other than a car. So while it's not a home that you own or you have you can start moving your furniture in and the dog. No, it's not the same, but it is the same. So there is no instant access into a house. Okay, there's.
But they're very nice. Tell her about them.
So
tell her about the process.
No, the building. Tell them about where.
What I was going to mention is they may feel like they're not ready for shelter, but they may have questions. So they certainly can still call our agency if they have any questions. I think there's some misconceptions about what a shelter might be and what some of the requirements are. We've lowered our barriers so much. We always look at obstacles and to lower barriers so that people can come in and start working where they're at. And we go based on their timeline, where are they at and how much time do they need, but at the same time, helping them, motivating them to reach their goals. So if they have questions, just tell them to call us, and we can answer questions that they have. And then Maud has more.
So,
sure, yes, let me tell you about our shelter. So our West Side facility, we have, there's two components to our facility. So we have a shelter component that has a mix of studios and 2-bedroom units. And each unit has a kitchenette, it's furnished on the property. So it's actually very spacious and beautiful. If you haven't been up there, you should drive up there right above the public pool. It's beautiful. I would love to live there. It's gorgeous. But in the West Side facility, we have 24 studios, we have 24 2-bedroom units, we have 32 beds in our men's dorm and 10 beds in our women's dorm. And again, we have a cafeteria, we provide food, we have a donation closet, so if they don't have, kitchen utensils or clothes, yes ma'am, it's free, it is. There's program fees that are associated when somebody comes on board, but we work with them with those. So, yeah. And then Maud has more for you.
So you don't have to go into shelter in order to get into permanent housing. But the good thing is that if they want to stay in Lahaina, it is very difficult to find housing. So while we are looking for housing, if they can be in a shelter, that would be a good thing. It makes it easier for us to find them. One of the things we do not do is, although we do outreach and go out to the streets on a daily basis, we cannot find the people that are in their cars and only are in there at night. We tried night outreach, but it's really difficult to walk up to a car with a flashlight and say, hello, are you homeless? No, I'm doing something else. So it's not a good idea for us. It is really, so we miss the people that are in their vehicles only at night at a location because we can't find them. So if you know somebody, please, they can call the Salvation Army, they can call Family Life Center. It's best to call Salvation Army in Lahaina because they'll do the initial contact. And then if they can get into a shelter while we're looking for housing, in Lahaina it takes a while, honestly. We're working with one landlord now that asked us if I do develop some housing, can you help me fill in? Well, yes, of course, but there aren't many places, and so in the time being, it would be great if they were in the shelter. Then we can find them easier.
Thank you. Well, for our Kaku audience, we want to thank you for your watching us, and hope you've learned a lot of information here, and there'll be more information in association with this panel presentation on our website of resources, these contact card, this information, places to contact for further information. But this panel's, let's give them a round of applause, thank them for their dedication to the cause, and thank you panel members for your valuable time this evening. And I urge you to keep up the good work and take a plate of food home, or 1 or 2 plates of food home with you. God bless you and aloha. Aloha, Kaku. Thank you.